marketing can sometimes be a subject that a lot of CEOs, executives, business owners uh, can't really put their hands on that much. They know they need it. They want to have good marketing, but sometimes their resources don't go into the right places.
Welcome to the Small Business Breakthrough Series, where each week we are interviewing small business owners that support the small business community. And this week we have a special guest who's focused heavy and created some really big movements inside of digital space. And it is the leads coming in from a national volume that elevate the business. And it's going to be great to have Clayton Patterson today on the show, who's the CEO and founder of Digital Space Marketing. Clayton, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Jason. I'm excited to kick it off and have a good conversation here.
Yeah. Can you give us a quick introduction to your business and the problems that you are helping your clients solve?
Absolutely. So, full service digital marketing agency. My background since I was 15 was entrepreneurship. Went and got law degree and ended up not practicing law, but knew I needed to get in the digital marketing space to learn marketing as an entrepreneur. So I think, what really sets us apart and really makes us unique is just bringing that entrepreneur spirit to marketing. Marketing can sometimes be a subject that a lot of CEOs, executives, business owners uh, can't really put their hands on that much. They know they need it. They want to have good marketing, but sometimes their resources don't go into the right places. And so, as an entrepreneur, I've really tested and failed often and failed early to get to the point where I am now with digital space marketing to really deploying into marketplaces tactics that work, right?
That sounds great. You talked a little bit about this, but what inspired you to start digital space marketing, and what's your proudest moment of being an entrepreneur so far?
So proudest moment and what prompted me to start it. So it was actually, you know, I started building websites when I was 15 years young. And at that point, after law school, I needed a website to launch a law firm. And so from there, I hopped back on YouTube, even with the law degree and all this formal education. I hopped on, free education on YouTube, which I'm a big believer in. Um, Taught myself some technical development skill sets of really focusing on, hey, I need a car in this race because I'm entering a race, right? But how can I structure the vehicle correctly to win that race? Meaning, how can I build it from the beginning that it's going to generate organic traffic, that it's going to convert when it actually has organic traffic, right? So I really started focusing on the little pieces of the engine that make a race car win the race, right? From there, I was actually a few months later after launching after launching Infinity Law websites built. I had just been diagnosed with cancer, and I'm sitting in a chemo treatment therapy center, and it was an experience I got to go through. Right at first, I was a little shocked by the experience, and then I zoomed out, and it was quite the blessing to be able to go through that experience as a human. And I had friends and family asking, "Wow, your law firm website, we're launching a business. We know you have some downtime right now. Would you be interested in helping us build a website?" And I'm like, huh, well, this is way more fun. I really like building websites. I really like the marketing aspect. So let's focus on launching digital space marketing. So I really wanted to focus then. I got some advice from mentors, and I wanted to focus on the recurring aspect of business. I think if you can build that into your business is worth a lot more. And we can, talk about the venture space and exits, for MRR and ARR type companies. But I really wanted to focus on that, which is why I launched digital space marketing instead of digital space development. Even though at first we just started with a development project, or I did, I wanted to focus on that. And so I think, second part of your question, just one of the most proud moments of digital space marketing. At first, I didn't think it was that honorable and that awesome to be an entrepreneur. It's 2024 now, and we're both inside the United States. And I'm now 36 years young, and I've kind of come to the conclusion that entrepreneurship, small businesses are the lifeblood of this country. So I'm really proud in the aspect of we've fought, and it's a tough fight, but we're here. We've beat the odds clearly. I mean, everybody knows the odds of 9 out of 10 businesses fail. But we've managed to, not just make it through the pandemic, we grew through the pandemic, right? The physical world got a lot smaller during COVID, but the digital world expanded massively, right? And the trends are continuing with screen time and app time and all of that, right? Even communication between all of us, our kids, spouses, all of that, right? So I'm proud that I didn't give up. Like in multiple areas of my life, I think that that's a huge life lesson, right? And I think resilience is something that we get to experience, right? We don't have to if you don't want to, but
Yeah, that's such a true, so true inside of that. And being an entrepreneur, and I've been an entrepreneur for 30 years myself, and it has definitely, I've been inside and outside of companies, had to do some jobs and had to not just because of season of life, but it's definitely one of those things where you can aspire to continue to progress and that it builds resiliency for sure in all of it. And you would say, hey, real quick, did you know that most small businesses don't actually achieve their breakthrough? And it's not because you don't care. It's all because you're trying to do it alone. That's why I created the Momentum Community, is to help you change that. I want to see you achieve the breakthrough that you've been waiting for. It's where we committed entrepreneurs come and get focused, get accountable, and finally build a business and life that you are meant for. If you want to learn more, click the link in the description below and enjoy the rest of the episode. As we were talking a little bit earlier, you were talking about some of what makes digital marketing special. And so what is it that differentiates digital space marketing from anybody else in the industry that has become, as you said, that digital space really grew in times of COVID. So, and it has become very flooded with it. What makes you guys unique?
yeah, I think one, I would have answered this question differently a few years ago. So that answer would have been the technical skills required to really set the foundation for a website to grow and to really capture traffic, right? Not all websites are built equally. It's a racket out there in the environment, in the sense of the legal industry that I had a teeny little background in, right? It's highly regulated. Attorneys have to charge a certain amount, have to abide by certain rules within the bar organizations of certain states and federally. And then the digital marketing world's just a complete racket. So what really differentiated us a few years ago was our ability to self-regulate in a sense. So if we're building a website, we have a client-facing website building checklist that goes through how we're going to structure this vehicle. Because if you hand us X amount of money, 100 grand, 50 grand, 20 grand, whatever, to build a website, typically the user on the other end doesn't know what they're going to get. So we took it upon ourselves saying, hey, we're going to slow down, we're going to educate you, and this is what you get when you work with us. And this is much different than the conversations you're probably having with other people who say, sure, I can build you this, I can build you that. Again, we can put any body kit on a car, but what really matters is under the hood of the engine. Now, I answer that question a little bit differently because we've been working on different business models to integrate within digital space marketing. We launched a few national campaigns in the elective surgery space regarding cataract and LASIK websites. And so those campaigns, those websites, those standalone businesses are now providing leads at a national scale, which now builds a moat around us, because if I work with someone in those specific industries, we now have a lead bank of leads flowing in from specific geographic regions, that a practice would be a part of. And so, we talked about it earlier. Now, some of him, that's why I like the entrepreneur, either sink or swim mentality, because now my future is dictated by my ability and my company's ability to generate leads for us, and then to pick strategic partners that can handle those leads properly, as opposed to a traditional service-based business or marketing company specifically, that you are more dictated by the client's actions. If the wind blows this way and they don't want to keep hiring you? Will you lose the account? And it seems to be always this like rat race of sales coming in, clients leaving, what is your churn rate, understanding all of that. And sometimes we've been moving forward 20 to 50% growth every year, but it still feels like you're take 3 steps forward and then one back and then three forward, one back. And I didn't like that pull of the marketplace, even though what's keeping the lights on, at our building and headquarters here in Orlando is digital space marketing in that model, adding value to companies that we do digital marketing for, right?
Yeah, you make such a great point in the side of when you're in a service-based business that doesn't have monthly recurring revenue, you are out fighting for food every single day and trying to make sure that you have a pipeline long enough that you can keep that full. And to be able to add monthly recurring revenue is a blessing because it gives you that ability to know what that runway is. And I work with a lot of broadband service providers. Well, they're the opposite. They've got a lot of monthly recurring revenue and they kind of will do these one-off jobs that don't have any monthly recurring revenue with them. It actually takes away from the business, right? It takes their focus away inside of it. So now bringing it back into the idea of monthly recurring revenue does increase value inside of the business. And you've done a really great job of being able to do that. And it sounds like really build your business to be a sustainable one, because that's something that small businesses need, is somebody that is a stable marketing agency that's not going to be, in that fly by night series. So that has been fantastic to hear. What is, we've talked a lot about the past. Let's jump ahead and start talking a little bit about what you see coming from the future. What do you see the marketing industry doing? And you might be a leading edge of this in some of what you've been talking about, but where's it going in the next 5 to 10 years? And how are you positioning yourself to be able to sustain the model since you've now been in for a little over 9 years? Like what's the next journey for you?
Yeah, I mean, the elephant in the room's AI, the umbrella term, right? Like you can just drop the AI, artificial intelligence term, and it's like, okay, here we go. But it is true, and it is out there so much making an impact just as a word, and let alone as the implications of it, right? And so I just got back this past month from an AI conference in San Francisco, and it was awesome to be, in that environment, talking with experts building this technology. So the future I see for marketing companies, or really any company, even if you're a construction company, at what time does your competitor use a figure.ai bot, just like the BMW factory in Germany, to hold the nail for your guy to hit it? And now you've reduced someone's hand getting crushed by 100 times a day, your workers' comp's down, your injuries are down, et cetera, et cetera. If your competitors start shifting towards that, when do you make that move? If you don't, are you out of business? I don't know. Some of these are these questions that, with this technology emerging and all of us uncertain about where we're going, I think we have to be on top of it. And I think there's a massive opportunity for every company. So we're building specific services, specific data integrations for companies. We're building a separate entity that'll manage some of that. That's under the name Solos.ai. And Solos will really be that hub of AI integrations. And right now, what's happening inside the space, just to, chase the vein of thought, is companies don't really know what to do, right? There's some companies who have gone out of business because the past 2 years, they've shifted their entire they've shifted their entire focus to high risk SaaS models or high risk technology infrastructure, when other companies are already building it, right? So all of the tools right now, it's kind of a scramble with all of these little whack-a-mole things popping up, right? And it'll all get consolidated. And it's already beginning. It's already happened, of course, but that's going to continue to consolidate as private equity, venture capital, entrepreneurs start scooping these technologies up, piecing them together, and bringing new products and services to the marketplace. So even I presented to a CEO group this past week, and a few of them were construction sites. But as CEOs and leaders, if we can just shift our mindset to how do we integrate this technology into our organizations. I think that's the opportunity for me as an entrepreneur, me as a CEO, us at Digital Space Marketing. Of course, there's lots of applications within the marketing field, you know, for artificial intelligence, from customer facing things to internal training modules to whatever it may be, data analysis. I recently got rid of our CFO because what I can do with AI, with budget forecasting and financial analysis, is much more effective and faster than they could do. Right.
Yeah.
And so I think for the law firm that I have attorneys and people working there, I don't practice. I just do the marketing, and they do probate and estate planning. Well, estate planning, drafting wills, trusts, it's very transactional, right? So for me, I have two options, right? Like, this wave of AI is coming and the future's undetermined. I could do nothing. Okay, that's an option. And then, or try to gear myself up as an entrepreneur, as a CEO, to be in that top 10% of law firm owners who are using AI to empower their workforce, right? And so that's what I'm really trying to do, is empower. It needs to start with the top and trickle down in these organizations to empower all of the employees, the receptionists. If there's two receptionists, one's good with AI and one's not, well, the one good with AI is 10 times more powerful. That could just be basic chat GPT, right? Keep it simple. But I think that's where everything's moving. And I think that's the opportunity that I see 2 to 5 years out right now, in not just my own businesses, but in every organization. And for some CEOs and executives, it seems very overwhelming. And I use the example, like, insert shameless plug, right? Of blast off what executives need to know about digital marketing, the book I wrote. And it's similar with AI. Like, you don't need to know everything as an executive and CEO about AI, but you need to put people in power, and you need to be having goals, whether it's weekly. In our business, we're more tech driven, so it's weekly. Maybe it's just monthly, maybe it's quarterly, but there needs to be conversations from you, management, your employees, and specific. If you're on EOS or Traction, it would be rocks. If you're just, a typical company, it's just a goal. But you need to have these goals set around some of this. And again, you don't need to know everything about digital marketing, but you need to know if Facebook ad's an option. You need to know what a pixel is, right? Because we all know, like, we're only as good as the people around us, and we're only as good as how we're holding them accountable, and you can't manage what you can't measure, right? So all those sayings are true. And I think there's a reason that there's a lot of chatter around this buzzword of AI, but also I think that's what the future looks like in 2 to 5 years, no matter
Yeah,
where you
that
are.
there was a lot of value in there, listeners, that you might have to go back, hit pause, rewind, and listen to some of that, because the value inside of that answer was crazy valuable for being able to talk about goal setting and the future and what we are talking about in AI and how it can be a tool in the toolbox. We've had some of those conversations, but Clayton just brought a whole new level to that of
Yeah.
value
I
for
think
you. So
one thing on that, I think it's the toolbox is always exciting, right? The past few presentations and events I've been speaking at first I was coming out with super cool tools, right, that we're doing. But I realized we have to step back as leaders in our organization. And maybe I don't think we're at the tools yet for a lot of organizations. Maybe an organization like me, who's been focused on it for a while, is ready to implement tools. But we can't just chase all of these tools all, like, the second we see them, which us entrepreneurs and CEOs typically like to do. We see the cool tool, we go to a meeting, we come back to our team and we say, hey, do all of this. And it's like, oh no, Clay's going to another meeting. Like, please no, he's going to come back with all the stuff we have to do. So I think we have to step back and really shift the mindset of the belief system at the organization. If there's not a brand value based on technology and AI, get one.
yeah.
And make it applicable to your business. And, like, let's start working through this. Let's start having those conversations, right? Let's do an AI assessment, right? So things like that.
Yeah, that is very, very valuable information about taking that. And I know I have been that leader at times when, you're coming back and same thing, like coming back from a conference. Oh no, what new things are we going to be working on? Getting systems and processes in place, making sure you're not using every new tool. And then also on the back end, make sure that you're keeping track of those subscriptions inside of the finances. So the it's awesome that you've got a book in there. We'll pitch the book in a minute towards the end here, but I want to jump into a little bit of a lightning round. Let's go to get to know Clayton a little bit better. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Cats or dog?
Coffee in the morning, tea at night.
There you go. I can go. I'll go with that. I do the same thing. Cats or dogs?
Dogs.
If you could grab only one weapon or item during a zombie apocalypse, what would it be?
Good question. Uh, Force field bubble.
Okay, force field bubble. There we go. Favorite quote or phrase that you think about often?
Gosh, that's a super good question. There's two. Can I do two?
Yeah, absolutely.
Everybody wants to be a beast till it's time to do what beasts do. And then the do today what others don't, to have tomorrow what others won't.
Okay. Very good. How about a favorite movie or streaming series that you love?
Right now, I've been watching Young Sheldon. It's been super funny. I think it's on Netflix.
Yep. One book that has influenced your life the most.
Ooh, Power of Now, Eckhart Tolle.
Okay. And then the biggest obstacle you've had to overcome and one lesson you've learned from it.
Yeah, it was definitely, I think, it was going through cancer at a young age at 28, old enough to process like what's happening, old enough to have enough life experience. And I think I alluded to it and mentioned it before. The brain does weird things, right? We're millions of years of evolution, but you get the victim mindset of why me, why me, why am I going through this challenge? And my dad asked that question, like, why you? And you know, I won't curse, but insert the curse word. It's like, why blank, not me? Why not me? Like, we get to have these experiences, and the mind labels just like a roller coaster. You get on, it's super freaky. You're like, whoa, 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 that's crazy. We could label it as fun. This turn was crazy. This turn was exciting. This turn was terrifying, right? But that's just the mind labeling these experiences as opposed to just sitting back and enjoying the ride, understanding that we get to have these experiences. Not that we have to. You don't have to go to work. You get to, right? And so embracing that philosophy and embracing that attitude of get versus have to.
It is so powerful, the mind, to have a positive mindset, to be able to go into it. And you've heard it, as Clayton was talking about here, listeners, the going through life-changing experiences, and in his terms it was cancer, and other people it may be other things, and you it may be other things, but it is something that is there, and having a positive mindset is the right way to go about going forward, and the right way to make a life change of your own, even if you're not going through some of those things, to be able to get up every morning and say, I get to partake in today. That is so powerful. Clayton, thank you so much for being on this on the podcast today. How can our listeners best get a hold of you? And you don't have to shameless plug, but I'd love to hear about your book a little bit in that inside of there.
Yeah, so ClaytonPatterson.com has everything that I'm involved in. Digital Space Marketing is the agency. If you're CEO, executive, manager, and you are trying to get a pulse on some of this AI, solos.ai/checkup is a great place to get an assessment. It's just questionnaire, fill it out. It'll spit a score back at you, and it starts the conversation of how ready is our organization to start implementing things? How much do we have to get organized, et cetera, et cetera. And then we can actually start, processing some of that. So all those places, Instagram, Clayton Patterson _ at the end, but on all the big platforms as well, LinkedIn and all that.
Sounds great. We will have all of that information in the show notes or the description if you are watching on YouTube, and reach out to Clayton for help in the digital space marketing areas. I want to thank Clayton again for being on the podcast today. And until next time.